Hello, welcome to The Honest Wargamer. I'm your host Rob, and this is the Sigmar Stat Center, where every single week, well, as much as we can, on a Monday with a Twitch chat, we go through all of the lists from the events at the weekend that either went 5-0 or 4-1. I try to talk about how the lists play and perform and try and give you some insight into maybe lists you might want to build or not build. And I hope you enjoy the show. There's also stats on Age of Sigmar, which in my opinion are the best stats in the world about any game system, probably, apart from maybe Blood Bowl. They're incredible. And then on thehonestwargamer.com, and then on by Ziggy and Rob, who are wonderful people, and they do incredible work. Special shout out to Rob for sending me all of the data I need whenever I go through and talk about the list from the weekend. There are 244 players playing this weekend across 5 countries, Italy, USA, England, Canada. We got the TRS Torino, the really good GT, Ragnarok GT, and a bunch more. If you do like the show, then please do like and subscribe. That will really help. Or leave us reviews on the podcast or any of those other things. Right, we're going to go look at the list now. I hope you enjoy the show. Thanks very much for tuning in. The first event that we're going to look at today, this weekend, is in Italy. It was the TRS Torino Regio Sabaudo, 2nd edition. 68 players playing. Here you can see the event, a nice little bit of artwork, and it was run by Meme Venerazzo. There you go. You can see there. And it was held in what looks to be a prison. So there you go. Lovely. Lovely. Now, if we go and look at the placings, obviously with such a large event, we get a couple of 5-0s and several 4-1s, which we'll be looking at today. Our first 2 5-0s is Mirko Anzalone and Roberto Galagari. Now, we can see that Mirko Anzalone, I'm so sorry, I've definitely got that wrong, Mirko Anzalone, I've obviously got that right, was running Blades of Khorne Bloodlords. Bloodlords sub-faction, don't forget, allows you to do mortals on 5s to hit, as opposed to 6s a hit when using something with a bloodletter keyword. He does have a big block of 20 bloodletters. He's got 1 unit of 10 blood warriors, and then for battle line 2 claws of Karnak units, which are very excellent, cheap, small screens, which is very, very good. He then has got a Bloodsecrator, a Realm Gore Ritualist, a Bloodmaster, and a Bloodthirster Unfettered Fury. Don't forget he's got Argath, the King of Blades, which makes units within 3 inches not be able to take ward saves, which is particularly good if you're doing a lot of mortal wounds. He's got a Bloodmaster and he's got a Slaughter Priest. The Bloodmaster is going to be able to help bring back units of Blood Warriors as well. Blood Letters as well, which is good. And he's got 1 last Slaughter Priest because those prayers are so useful in Blades of Khorne. Then he's got a unit of Garrix Reavers, 70 points. You see these in a lot of Khorne lists because they're 70 points, super cheap already, and because you can sacrifice them very early for a very easy Blood Tithe point, which is very wicked. A unit of Blood Crushers as well, so only a unit of 3, but again they're doing mortals on 5s to hit, but only with the Bloodletter attacks. The Bleeding Icon, and then a unit of Mighty Skull Crushers, so they're going to be on a 2-up armor save, and they're going to be pinning a unit in. They're only 200 points, but 15 wounds. Which is quite interesting. So multiple small units with the exception of the Bloodletters. So it looks like a lot of what Mac has been doing has been sacrificing units to generate Blood Tithe points while making sure he does a lot of damage with his Bloodletters, which is very, very good. That's Margor's, Rob. Garrex are good because they kill a model for Blood Tithe points. Apologies. But either way, they generate Blood Tithe points. Sorry. Just to be clear, just reconfirm that you can take the unit of Garrix Reavers and they generate a Blood Tithe point that they kill a unit, which is really good. Okay. And then Roberto Caligari, I made a mistake of reading the chat. It was running Gloomspike Gits. He was running Jaws of Mork. Don't forget that. It's +1 attack to the draw attacks of Squig units. He's got a Scragrok, great 2-cast wizard. Really solid, excellent. Generates the moon around him. Fungal Cave Shaman, Squig Boss. The Fungal Cave Shaman, as well as having Squiggler for 3 units, D3 units, can run and charge. He's got the Moonface Mommet, so reduces the save of units of a unit within 12 inches. The Squig Boss, who's the general, has got the Clammy Hand, which which lets you re-roll the dice for returning a model to the unit. A unit of 20 Squig Hoppers, and then 3 units of 24 Squig Herd. What we're seeing in a lot of Worlds lists, as an example, is 2 units of 36, so maxing them out. The idea is that you lose a unit and you return that unit up to half, thanks to the Loon Shrine's ability in Clammy Hand for the re-roll. Here he's just got like a little bit more board presence, and if someone does have Be'lakor, for instance, and shuts down 1 unit of Squig Herd, there's still 2 major threats. And the Squig Hoppers themselves are a major threat as well. They're they're all getting +1 attack on their jaw attacks as well. Sneaky Snufflers to buff them for the 5-up ward. Martial Roll Sluggoth +1 to hit for everyone in range. Absolutely brilliant. Okay, so looking at the 4-1s, and we've got a nice little mixture of 4-1s. Vittorio Canzani is running Sinesh, and he's running Pretenders, and he's running this in what I would consider to be the cookie-cutter Sinesh list. So in Pretenders, don't forget, you get an extra 2 CP every time your general would generate 1 CP for a total of 3, which is pretty crazy over the course of a battle. And every time he issues a command, he can issue the same command up to 3 times, which is really, really good. And you're only spending 1 CP for the privilege. Then you've got a Keeper of Secrets, you've got the Mask, and the Contorted Epitome. Now, the Keeper of Secrets gets to fight twice. Makes a unit fight twice. Once per battle. We'll talk about that more in a minute. Command trait is Strength of Godhood. Doesn't stack anymore, which is really good. Crown Dark Secrets and Flaming Weapons, making Keeper of Secrets themselves an okay, if a little bit of a high variance melee unit in the Keeper of Secrets. The Mask and then the Contorted Epitome, fueled by Gurish Rage. I think that's going to be very common. Contorted Epitome is a massive force multiplier. D3 units get +1 to wound against them, and it's not just melee, it's in everything, which is nuts. Then, again, Cookie Cutter, 22 and 2 times 11 Bliss Barb Archers. So these have got a really good shooting profile, 2 shots each, so it's a ton of shots at range. And then the important part here is that if you ever get charged, thanks to Owen in the chat for pointing this out, if you do ever get charged, because you're in Pretenders, you're going to be able to do triple Unleash Hell, which is bonkers amounts of shots, like legitimately really good, and they've all got rend. Then you've got a unit of Bliss Barb Seekers. So the Bliss Barb Seekers will normally shoot first, because what they do is they reduce the save of a unit until the end of that turn, which I think is quite good. So a unit of 5 Seekers could maybe shoot a couple of different units, and then the Bliss Barb Archers could shoot after, so effectively giving them rend too, which is crazy. That at -1 rend is also going to, -1 to their save is also going to affect the unit of 10 Slitblade Seekers, which again is very cookie cutter. So these are a cavalry unit that are very fast and they do melee output. Now the important part is they're going to charge in early. You're going to use an ability called Euphoric Killers, and then they're going to attack with the Keeper of Secrets. The Keeper of Secrets is then going to make them fight twice, which means because of Euphoric Killers, everything that they damage that they do in that combat phase, and that will be over both activations, will generate them depravity points. At that point, their depravity point table will power up because it's like a bar that you fill up, and then there'll be -1 to hit, do mortals on 6s to hit, and also have a 5-up ward save if they fill it up quick enough. That's very, very, very good. So you've also got the Temptation dice for Sinesh as well, which is their Allegiance ability. You're going to do either a bunch of mortal wounds or generate more depravity that way as well. So I'd say this feels fairly cookie cutter. I'm not saying it's like the perfect Sinesh list, but it feels like the list many people are trying to run at the moment. It's the one a lot of people are feeling very positive about. You've got enough shooting in the Bliss Barb Archers to clear away screens, so that the this is very much like a kind of Beast of Chaos army, and it's all in a 1-drop. So you clear away the screens, and then the Slitblade Seekers go in, and then you just have to deal with that. So your screen goes away, the Slitblade Seekers probably hit something very valuable in your army, do a lot of damage, then we're done. So very interesting lists. Really like to see it. Congratulations to Vittorio Canzani. Then we've got Andrea Epics. I don't know. But I got it wrong last time on the list review show. I apologize. Andrea Epics. I hope that's right. Anyway, he's running Ogre Tribes in Boulder Head. So that's +2 wounds onto all your boys. Frosthorn Stonehorn. Then Huskard on Thunder Tusk, and then a Firebelly and a Bloodpelt Hunter. Bloodpelt Hunter, interestingly, doesn't have Tunnel Master. Instead, the Firebelly does. Normally, you see Tunnel Master on the Bloodpelt Hunter because the Bloodpelt Hunter does have the ability to make a kind of move, a normal move when your opponent comes near them, very much like the Foxes used to do in Lumineth Realmlords, and then that activates Tunnel Master so you can teleport away, meaning basically can't be hit. You got Epis right, but Andrea wrong though. Damn it! I'm sorry. And then he's got the you got Huskard Thunder Tusk with a Blood Vulture, and then the Frostlord and Stonehorn with obviously the -1 to wound mount trait, and Voice of the Avalanche, the ability to do a command ability anywhere on the board, and then 3 units of 3 Stonehorn Beast Riders. There we go. So, like, just a lot of damage. Holding objectives is very strong. And they're monster trucks. They're just going to smash in very early, do a lot of damage, hit you very hard, hold objectives very aggressively, and you've got to deal with it. Then another Filippo, congratulations. Went 4-1 with his Ogre Tribes Boulder Head. He had a Frostalon Stonehorn, which, if you look, it's exactly the same loadout as the one we looked at before. Oh, no, sorry. He changed his command trait to Touched by the Everwinter, making him a priest. And then you got the Prayer Keening Gale. Does that mean you can then take Arcane Tome? Interesting. Tyrant, a Butcher, and then 4 Stonehorn Beast Riders in this list. So it's the same thing again. They count on 10 as objectives. They've got good armor saves. They've got good war saves. They've got a good amount of wounds. They have great output. Really solid. You really want to make them -1 to hit, -1 to wound if you can. They really struggle with that if you are playing against those. But they do a lot of mortal wounds on the charge as well, so there's also that, so they clear screens in that way. Gianni Crivella is running the Lumineth Realm Lords in Helon, Teclis, a Cathalar, 2 units of 10 Wardens, 5 Dawn Riders, an Umbral Spell Portal, and then 2x20 Wardens. He doesn't have the Rune of Petrification, which you would consider to be fairly standard in this list, but does have the Umbral Spell Portal for the Technado. So this is the Technado and Lumineth Castle, which we talk about a lot. Then Jordi Napaniali is running OCR Bone Reapers, so this is new book. And then Petrifex Elite. He's got Catacross, so Petrifex Elite is -1 damage to a minimum of 1 to not to Catacross, but I think to the Stalkers and the Immortis Guard that are in this list. Then he's got Immortis and Ossifector, which has got the Aura of Sterility to everyone wholly within 12 inches. It's -1 to hit, -1 to wound from shooting. The Ossifector also has got a +1 to a wound aura as well. And it's got the aspect of the champion leadership of the Alpha. Then he's got Mortis and Bone Shaper. Then a unit of Stalkers, 2 units of 3 Stalkers, and a unit of 6 Immortis Guard. And then 2 units of 2 Morghast Archai. So they're quite fast, a little bit more mobile, doing damage. They also turn off command abilities in an aura for units they're engaged with. So the healing in this army is pretty good. The Stalkers and the Immortis Guard can be healed at least twice in the OCR Bone Reaper's turn, which is very good. They've got great armor saves. They've got a +1 save thanks to Catacross, which is just really good. Works outside of his own Legion now, which is just wild in my opinion. So yeah, just very, very good. So yeah, just excellent stuff. And then we've got Luca Honorati running Disciples Each Guild of Summoners. He's running a Fate Master, a Curseling, a Magister, and a Changecaster. Then 20 pinks, 10 pinks, and 2 units of 10 Zangor. Soul Screen Bridge, Chronomantic Cogs, and Burning Sigil. Chronomantic Cogs allows you to reroll casts, very useful. Burning Sigil Zinch is a spell you can put down on the first turn, which your opponent can't stop and unbind for the first turn. And Soul Screen Bridge is going to be used for that unit of 20 pink horrors. Teleport them across the board. And then charge using Destiny Dice and pin your opponent into their deployment zone, which is a very solid play in my personal opinion. Then all of the wizards are in Guild of Summoners. Well, the whole army's in Guild of Summoners, but the wizards are trying to generate as many spells as they can, and they're trying to do as much damage as they can to summon more Lords of Change on the board, to hold the board and do a lot of damage. Basically, that's the trick. So well done to Guild of Summoners. Very popular at the minute. And then Andrea Nokifora is running Blades of Khorne. Bloodthirster from Infected Fury, Bloodmaster, Bloodscraper, Bloodmaster, Realmgore Ritualist, and Scar Bloodwrath. 2x20 Bloodletters, and then 2 units of 5 Fleshhounds and some Blood Crushers. So again, they're doing mortals or 5s to hit on those Bloodletters, and everything else in the army is really geared towards making it so those Bloodletters charge in. Bloodthirster from Infected Fury, with the 3d6 charge. Don't forget they get a d6 move in the hero phase. They got a prayer for an additional move, so those Bloodletters sound like they're not going very fast, but I think that their threat range is something like 32 inches, which is pretty nuts, in my opinion. So they're very fast. Scar dies, comes back, gives more Blood Tithe points. Realmgore Ritualist for +1 to hit in an aura, and as a cheap priest as well. So just a load. Just a load of very, very interesting lists there. Really fun to see the mix. And then I hope everyone had a lovely time at the event. Our next event had 58 players. It was the Really Good GT, hosted by Team Big Chungus, with, I think, a great bit of art, if you check that out, which I think is really good. But the actual host was Nick Grimnir. Shout out to Nick. And it was being held in Maryland, I think, at this mall, the town mall, which is pretty good. Who did well at the event? Well, that's a great question. We're going to talk about the 5-0s first. And they're quite unique lists, which is really fun. Played by two very great players. Emma Mangles, previously of Team USA. I think she's still in the squad, but not coming this year. And Jacob Brandon, who is a phenomenal player over in the USA. Really, really solid. So some really, really good lists. Let's go talk about them. So Emma was running Soulblight Gravelords, and she was running Vycross. Now, Vycross, interestingly, now you can take artifacts on unique characters. So you got a Vampire Lord with Tunnel Master, you got a Vampire Lord with Spirit Gale, and you got Belladama Volga with the Ulfankana Phylactery. This gives a 5-up ward save to summonable units wholly within 9 inches. A Necromancer, and then Torgillus the Chamberlain. And Torgillus also gives a 5-up ward to summonable units wholly within 12 inches. And then 3 units of 40 zombies, 2 units, another unit of 20 Deadwalker zombies, and then a unit of Direwolves, 2 Corpse Carts, and a unit of Graveguard. So what we're seeing there is almost all of those units have a 5-up ward save while they're surrounded by those characters. And those characters can pass wounds off to those other units. In addition, the Corpse Carts are doing giving the zombies mortal wounds on 6s to hit, and to finish this all off, they're doing murder rolls. So if you go in and you murder 40 zombies, then you're going to be rolling 40 dice, and a 5-up is going to do mortal wounds back. Lastly, and to quote Andrew in the chat, which I think is a really fair point that we need to talk about with Soulblight Gravelords, is the ability to resummon a dead unit up to half strength. So recycle a unit is how we call it. So recycle a unit up to half strength outside of 3 inches of your opponent is pretty busted, like for screening, for move blocking, and doing a bunch of other stuff. It's very, very strong, and it happened in both players' turn. So I think you're going to see Soulblight Gravelords armies do very, very well, based off a load of different things anyway, but that ability being very, very strong. So very, very impressive in my opinion, and shout out to Emma for doing so well. The other list run by Jacob Brandon, and having just read, I think, 13 or 14 Beasts of Chaos lists for the World Championships, and myself currently playing Beasts of Chaos, whenever I start reading a Beasts of Chaos list, I expect there's stuff I expect to see, which is 9 Bulgor and a bunch of Raiders. But Jacob Brandon just flipping the script on this, running All Herd. Now, All Herd is really good because at the end of every battle shot phase, each Gore Ungore unit in your army, but not Best of Gore, is going to be able to return D3 plus 3 unit models to a unit, and that's each unit. And it's D3 plus 3 at the end of each battle shot phase, each player's turn. Okay, so that's the thing to remember. So that's Gore and Ungore units, including Ungore Raiders. So you're going to be healing 6 plus 2d3 at every battle round, which is crazy. So that's the All Herd subfaction. He's got 3 Great Bray Shamans, Tendril of Atrophies, plus 1 damage onto an enemy unit. And so if you attack that unit, they're plus 1 damage. Great Bray Shaman, another Great Bray Shaman with the artifact, the Bray Blast Trumpet, which is going to summon a unit of Gore, Ungore Raiders, or Ungore. And then a Beast Lord with the Bestial Cunning command trait, which means a unit can deep strike from outside of 7 inches anywhere on the board, as opposed from the board edge. And then another Beast Lord with the Leadership of the Alpha, so can do 3 command abilities. And then he's got 2 units of 30 Gore, which is crazy. They're good in close combat, like, I guess, if you stack enough attacks on them, which is quite interesting. But they don't have a lot of rend, but don't worry, we've dealt with that. They're also in the Galician Veterans subfaction. Galician Veterans Battalion. So they're going to be able to fight in multiple ranks, which is really good, because they only have 1 inch range and they're on 32 mil bases. Then he's got 10 Gore, just battling out that battle line. Then he's got 3 units of Chaos Gargants. Crazy. So these have got a stackable ability to reduce the armor save of a unit that they're fighting, which is very good, because if you can get those in at the same time as the Gore, that means that then you could be at Ren 3 with the Gore, maybe even Ren 4 with the shrine. The shrine that they have, the terrain piece that they use. And then 2 Cockatrices. And the Cockatrices also make it so that units that try to fight the Gore are going to be hitting on 6s, because that's their ability. On a 4+, take D3 mortal wounds. You take any, then you hit on 6s. So that adds some survivability into the army. So Some really interesting stuff. Yes, the cockatrice thing, though, doesn't stack. Or you can't try to use the cockatrice thing on 2 units. So, very, very good. Very, very cool. Very interesting. And honestly, I think I'd like to reach out to Jacob and get an interview on this and work out exactly how he's playing it, what he's doing with it, because it's very fun. Bit of a problem, though, for next season, so when the new GHB comes around, because we are getting rumours that the Galician Veterans Battalion is going to be going away. Now, this is going to cause a real problem for a lot of players in the game. We will have had this now for 6 months, maybe longer than 6 months, a year. We'd have had this for a year, and so people have built armies with the ability, with units that can fight in 2 ranks. So we are going to start a aggressive letter writing campaign. If that does go away in the new GHB, but it will just be a really nicely worded letter like, "Dear Games Workshop, I like Age of Sigmar. Please don't take, please just FAQ in the Galician Veterans Battalion. That'd be great." Anyway, 2 great people, 2 great 5-0s, 2 very unique lists. You love to see it. Excellent. Shout out to the hosts of the really good GT. Let's go look at the 4-1. So in the 4-1s, you got Carl Lipfiller on, running Carriage and Overlords, Mike Vaginos, running Slaves to Darkness, William Hatch, Caleb Walters, Nicholas Walters, Joe Shoemaker, Ryan Lavo, Sergio Ortiz, all in the 4-1 bracket. Little shout out, obviously, to Ted Adams and Tom Ling with the 4 and a draw. Well, 3 and a draw and a loss, but shout out to you. All right, what list were they all playing? Okay, well, Carl, obviously, one of the better KO players in the world, running Barak Urbaz, which means he gets to take an extra article, if you didn't know. So he's got Honour is Everything and Settle the Grudge, so he gets +1 to wound against 1 unit, and he also gets Rally on a 4+. He's got an Archanaut Admiral who's got the Command Trait X Grundstrock, which means he can take Thunderers as battle line, and also issue a command ability to those Thunderers as well. There's some stipulation around that I forget. He's also got Fueled by Gurish Rage as well. An Aether Chemist for +1 Rend, Aether Navigator, and Brock Grungson, which is great. Then he's got a Grundstrock Gun Hauler, and then he's got another Gun Hauler, and then he's got 15 Thunderers, 2 units of 3 Engine Riggers, and an Ironclad in a Battle Regiment and Command Entourage. So he is going to be able to heal up his big boats like the Ironclad and the little Gun Haulers, and then he's got 15 Thunderers. Now, normally you see more Thunderers, so Carl really changing up a little bit here. You don't see a lot of Gun Haulers. You see almost no Gun Haulers, in fact. So he's trying out something a little bit spicy, a little bit different. And then the big Ironclad with the big gun boys in, doing all the shooting. Very cool, very cool. Safe Startness run by Mike Vaginos, running Ravagers. Don't forget, that means you get to recycle a unit of cultists in this army as well, which is really fun. It means you get to make one of your, you get to make your general the Idolater Lord, and he has made an Exalted Hero of Chaos that with the Mark of Sinesh. He's then got a Chaos Sorcerer Lord in the list as well, and he's got Archeon. And then he has 80 Splintered Fang, 4 units of 20, and a unit of Unmade. They're going to be doing a load of damage in close combat, and then when they do die, he's going to be able to return 10 of them back on the board, which is very good. So a lot of recursion in that army. And while you're just getting waves after waves of insane cultists, doing loads of mortal wounds, don't forget they got 3 attacks each, so a unit of Splintered Fang should be 60 attacks. They also get to fight on death as well, yeah, thank you. They go in, and then you've got to deal with Archeon as well, so that's an issue. So fun, great list. Well done to Mike for doing super well. Mike's also just a great human, really fun. Like, he'll talk your ear off about Warhammer Forever, and I super appreciate it. Then we have a Soulblight Gravelords list in Legion of Blood, Vampire Lord and Zombie Dragon, Neferata and a Vampire Lord. This Vampire Lord and Zombie Dragon is what I'm going to call the Doomed Mist and Shadows. He's got Command Trait Doom Minion, so you hit D3 units on 2+. Anyone that hits them hits on a 2+. Cloak of Mist and Shadows is a 3-up unrendable save. Neferata can cast a spell so that you ignore rend, but you can still add positives to your save. Then it's got a unit of 30 Death Rattle Skeletons, and this is what we think Neferata spell's going on. So with a Mystic Shield, that means they're going to have a 4-up unrendable save, and at the beginning of every combat phase, you're going to be able to roll a dice for each slain model in the unit on a 4+ return them. It's pretty decent, with also a 6-up ward save. A unit of Black Knights as battle line, and a unit of Deadwalker Zombies. Then you got Graveguard, a unit of 20 Graveguard, a unit of 10 Graveguard, all in the list as well. doing a load of damage. Graveguard, very, very solid. But those skeletons going to feature in a lot of lists. Very, very good. Then you got an OCR Bone Reapers lift in crematoriums. You absolutely love to see it. I'm pretty certain Caleb was running this. Shout out to Caleb specifically. Love to see you doing it. So crematoriums makes all of your army murder rolls. You roll a number of dice equal to the wounds caused by... So if you've got 1 wound model, you roll 1 dice. If you've got 3 wound model, you roll 3 dice. Any 5-ups do a mortal wound. # murder rolls. You've got Catacross with the +1 to hit, +1 save aura, which is very, very good. Arcan... Great Wizard, and the Bone Shaper with the Aura of Sterility, like we talked about earlier, +1 to hit, -1 to hit, and -1 to wound for shooting against units wholly within 12 inches. The Artisan's Key, so he's got another attempt to heal into a unit, which is what the Bone Shaper can do. And then Fueled by Garish Rage in case it does die. 20 Mortek Guard, so you can heal, I think you can heal 9 Mortek Guard with that loadout with Catacross, Arcan, and the Bone Shaper. No, sorry, 12. Actually, you can get 3 from Catacross, 3 from Arcan. Bone Shaper can do another 3, and then Artisan Key gives you another 3. I'm pretty certain. So that's 12 back. And then you've got 3 units of 5 Gravelords Death Riders and a Gothazar Harvester. So those Death Riders, when they charge in, they give you a good battle tactic, but also murder rolls for those guys. It's going to be 3 dice per 1. So from a unit of 5, you're going to be rolling 15. But they're going to get +1 save on their 4-up base save coming from Catacross. So you're going to have a 3-up armor save, which is really good, especially spread across 15 wounds, which is decent, and also being able to have a ward save. And then the Harvester with those Mortek means every Mortek you kill, you get to roll a dice, and on a 4+, they get to be put back on the board, but you also get to roll the murder roll. So die, get slain, murder roll, 4+, come back on the board, and then heal them. It's legit and very funny and very cool, in my personal opinion. So shout out to them. I love that. Uruk Warclans, Iron Jaws, a little bit classic Bloodtooths, Weird Knob Shaman, a Mega Boss and War Crusher, and a War Chanter. Oh, sorry, 2 War Chanters and a Mega Boss on foot with the Destroyer artifact, Tunnel Master. Don't forget, Mighty Destroyers triggers Tunnel Master, move after, slap someone in the face with a Destroyer on the Mega Boss. 2 units of 6 Gore Grunters. They're going to be buffed up to high heavens. And the Brutes. Unit of 10 Brutes. I really like 10 Brutes in this meta. There's a lot of 1 wound models, 2 wound models holding objectives. And the Brutes mean that you don't count for holding objectives, 1 wound models. Unit of 10, pretty solid. Nice in a combat meta. They're not super fast, but Mighty Destroyers will help that out. I really like the Brutes in this list as well. Also means that you can push up something pretty defensive in the Brutes into the midboard and then charge with your Gore Grunters later, meaning you don't have to be like an alpha army. So that's quite fun from list construction, in my opinion. And then we got another OCR Bone Reapers list. This in Petrifex Elite damage. This subfaction means that the damage is reduced by 1 to a minimum of 1. So if you've got damage to a weapon, it'd be damage 1 weapon. Catacross and a Bone Shaper. Again, Aura of Sterility. -1 to hit, -1 to wound. Against shooting units, Artisan's Key. Same thing I said before. And then 2 units of 6. Sorry, 1 unit of 6 Immortus Guard. 1 unit of 6 Necropolis Stalkers. 1 unit of 3 Immortus Guard. 2 units of 5 Gravelords Death Riders. And the Soul Stealer Carrion. So everyone's got a really good armor save thanks to Catacross. And this time they're reducing the damage that's coming in thanks to the subfaction. And then finally, Legion of Blood. Again, the same Vampire Lord with the same loadout. Neferata and a Vampire Lord in the list as well. Then 20 Death Rattle Skeletons, 10 Death Rattle Skeletons, some Direwolves, 10 more Skeletons, and then 2 lots of 20 Graveguard. So some hammer and anvil here, holding the front line with the Skeletons, smashing them with a Graveguard. The whole time the Vampire Lord and Zombie Dragon poses a massive threat, and you got some magic defense from Neferata. Wicked event. I got to shout out the guys one more time, so I just think great little logo. I really like the name of the event as well, the Really Good GT. Sounds like on the name of the event you're telling me what I'm going to do, which is have a fun time. So it sounds great. I hope you guys had a great time. Our next event is the Ragnarok GT being held in England. It was organised by Russell Taylor, and it was held here at a school, a classic English setting for an event. Shout out to the South Coast GT. It was won by Hazel Moon, and if you did tune in last week, you'll see that Hazel also picked up a 5-0 last week as well. So that makes Hazel on a 10-0 streak. I think 2 tournaments, 2 5-0s in a row is a streak. So we'll see if that continues. What was she running? She was running Ogre, Mawtribe, Boulder Head. She had a Frostlord and Stonehorn, a Huskard on Thunder Tusk, and then 1, 2, and 3 Stonehorn Beast Riders with some Thunder Tusk Beast Riders. Lucky enough to have Hazel in the chat, and she says that big guys stand in the corners and then they hold objectives until all the vultures ruin your day. So there are 5 blood vultures in the list. Anywhere on the board, 2+ and mortal wound, killing all sorts of support heroes and then starting to do loads of damage in close combat. I mean, ogres are pretty monosyllabic. They charge, fight. That's pretty much all you need to know. But all in Boulder Head. Absolutely congratulations to Hazel. Let's go look at the 4-1s. Okay, in the 4-1s, we've got 2 KOs, Owen Jackson and Phil Sprignall, but wildly different lists. Luke Skelton with his Nurgle and Benjamin Savert with his Soulblight Gravelords. So let's just take a look at the lists. Owen is running Barrack Urbaz again. So what I said earlier about the additional articles, he's also got an ex-Grundstrock command trait, so he's going to have Thunder as his battle line, an Arcanaut Admiral, an Aether Chemist, 2 Aether Chemists, a Navigator, and a Code Write. So he's generating tons of CP. He's going to be able to shut down the enemy. He's going to be able to generate himself a load of extra rend on top of his 2 units of 15 Grundstrock Thunderers for a phenomenal amount of damage. Then 10 Arcanaut Company and an Ironclad. He's also got Soul Screen Bridge in there as well, which is free. So he's going to be able to move over a unit of Thunderers, shoot them, and also bridge over a unit of Thunderers and shoot them, which is very, very positive. And some big damage there. This is very different to Phil Sprignall's list, which is Barrack Zon. He's got an Admiral, an Engineering Master, and a Navigator. But then he's got 9 Engine Riggers, 6 and 3 Engine Riggers, so don't forget, quite a bit of damage as they come out of the boat and do fighting, but also great opportunity to heal on the boats that they're in as well, because they're really good healing on the big sky ships. And then you get 3 Sky Wardens. Then you have 1 Gun Hauler and then 2 Arcanaut Frigates. Don't forget, if you charge in with these, then the guys inside the boats can get out, fight, with always strikes first. So that's really good into combat. So combat KO and shooting KO both going 4-1. That's really excellent. Luke with his Drowned Men, running a Lord of Afflictions, Be'lakor, best war scroll in the game, Lord of Blights, and then 2x4 Blight Lords and 2 Puskull Blight Lords. I don't know what's to say about this other than good armor saves, good wounds, 5 up ward save. Be'lakor shuts stuff down. Lord of Afflictions turns off command traits. Just very solid, like in my opinion. Just very, very good. And then finally, Benjamin's list is a Soulblight Gravelords Kesterly army, so you get +1 attack on Vamps. Prince Vordry, a Vampire Lord, and then 3 units of 5 Blood Knights, and then 16 Askurgan True Blades with their pre-game move, 2x3 Felblats, and then some Vrykross Bloodborne. So being able to hold objectives with the smaller units, pre-game move, block stuff up, and then do a bunch of fighting with very survivable units. The healing, especially the healing that you can get on the vampires, like Prince Vordry. The hunger is incredibly effective. So congratulations to everyone who did really well. The Game Night GT in Canada had 26 players and was part of their league, I'm being told. We had Mark Polinsky win the event and go 5-0 with his Soulblight Gravelords army. And he was running a Legion of Blood, shock and horror, with Neferata, a Vampire Lord and Zombie Dragon, with Doom Minions and a Cloak of Mist and Shadows, White King, and a Vampire Lord. The White King is really, really good in combination with the Desperate Skeletons, in my opinion. Desperate Skeletons, a little minimum unit. 2 units of Direwolves, and then a big unit of 10 Blood Knights. Don't forget, those Blood Knights are going to get Mystic Shield, and they're going to get Neferata's Spell, which means they're going to have a 2-up unrendable save, which is very, very good. And they're all going to be hitting on 2s, which is just very, very effective. So massive congratulations to Mark Polinsky, and just great work. Well done, bud. So in the 4-1 bracket, Steve Weidman, Matt Kolyak, and Jake Seguin, and Sean Murray, all went 4-1. Congratulations to all of you. Let's talk about what was in the list. So the Lumineth Realm Lords list was pretty exciting. It had Zytrek, Cenarian Lightner, Law Seeker, and a Venari Lord Regent, but no tech list. The Lord Regent is going to be able to buff up some of those weapons that you can see. So Wardens, the Sentinels, so there's 10 Wardens, 220 Sentinels, and then a max unit of Blade Lords, which is bonkers to see, and then a unit of Wardens. And it kind of makes sense to see a Law Seeker and a max unit of Blade Lords. That's kind of fun. And it's got 3 endless spells. Ravenous Extension Jaws for doing a lot of mortal wound damage. which is pretty good. Rune of Petrification for doing some AoE mortal wound damage, and Geminids for turning off command abilities, which is very good as well. You like to see it. This is very unique. I mean, there's not much to say about this army in of itself. Blade Lords combos really nicely with a Lore Seeker, but it's really exciting to see something like this happen. This is all in Zytrek, so all the wizards have got +1 to cast, which is pretty good. The Lore Seeker, I love a Lore Seeker with Fueled by Gurish Rage. That's actually really clever, holding that objective and continues to hold that objective. Okay. Another Soulblight Gravelords list going 4-1, Legion of Blood, Neferata, Vampire Lord, Zombie Dragon with Doom Minions, Cloak of Mist and Shadows, some Death Rattle Skeletons, and then 10 Blood Knights, 20 Graveguard. We're seeing something happen here, gang. We're seeing something happen. There is a fun Cities of Sigmar list, absolutely huge to see this do well. Hallow Heart, so you get additional spellcasting in Hallow Heart. Celestial Hurricane with Celestial Battle Mage, a Knight Velexo that's given the Arcane Tome and is bonded to the Kronspine Incarnate. It's quite clever giving a Knight Velexo with the Pennant the Stormbringer, the Arcane Tome, because normally he just has AoE mortal wounds and then he's done. But giving it the Arcane Tome means it's got continued utility in the army, which is fun, and has been given Tunnel Master as well. Then 30 Free-Guild Crossbowmen doing the same job that you would see something like Reavers or something like Blitzbarb Archers do. 10 Free-Guild Guard and 10 Flagellants. And all of those things are clearing away for those 10 Protectors to charge in and do a ton of damage and also hold objectives really well. And the Kronspine Incarnate of Gur, which can charge up the board and, really excitingly, can have warding brand cast on it, so that if you do any damage to the Kronspine Incarnate of Gur, for every damage you do on a 4+, you take a mortal wound back. It obviously does have technically 18 wounds, but it actually has infinite wounds for the purpose of warding brand. So if you do 1 billion attacks into the Kronspine Incarnate of Gur, specifically looking at you Squigs, you'll be taking a lot of mortal wounds back, which is pretty good. So I absolutely love that. And then finally, we have got Fireslayer's Greyfjord. You've got a Rune Master, a Battlesmith, a Rune Father on Magmadroth, and a Rune Meister, and Rune Spider, and a Rune Father. Then 2 lots of 10 Hearthguard Berserkers and 2 lots of 10 Volkite Berserkers. So there's not much to say about Fireslayers a lot of the time, unless you're running something quite different. The Double Flamekeeper list is something really interesting, as is Jeremy Vissier's list, which also kind of really breaks the mold on how Fireslayers play. Maybe running MSU Volkite Berserkers is kind of interesting as well. But ultimately, it's just a very good combat army, which is going to strike first when you charge it. And it's those 2 units of Hearthguard Berserkers, those 2 units of 10, being screened out by the Fireslayer's hand axes. So you can hammer and anvil it pretty well. And then you've got some very fighty characters, specifically the Rune Father on Magmadroth. Our next event is the Warpfire Sigmar Summit 2023, being held in Florida. It doesn't matter. Organised by Jordan Rainey. Congratulations to him. 28 players playing. The event was won by Jack Harpster, who I think is from the Art of War crew. He's running Soulblight Gravelords, and very much like a lot of the other lists we've read today, Legion of Blood is his army. He's got Neferata and a Vampire Lord and Zombie Dragon with Doom Minions and the Cloak of Mist and Shadows. Don't need that explained anymore. And a Vampire Lord on foot with Tunnel Master. 20 Deadwalker Zombies, 30 Death Rattle Skeletons, so we are seeing that as a thing now. Instead of putting just the Neferata spell on 10 Blood Knights, it's definitely going on Death Rattle Skeletons. And then obviously, as everything we said before, and then 10 more Skeletons. Mortis Engine is something unique. We haven't seen this previously. It does have an AoE Mortal Wound ability, which is pretty awesome. Especially if you stick that behind something that isn't going to die, like the Death Rattles. And then a Corpse Cart, which is going to make those summonable units do mortals and 6s. And then 20 Graveguard for a big slap unit, which you absolutely love to see. You absolutely love to see it. So, really great. Shout out to Jack. Hope you had a great time. Congratulations on doing so well. No real surprise because you're probably brilliant at wargaming, but either way, congrats. Okay, in the 4-1 bracket, got Cody Saltz running Ironjaw's Bloodtooth, Joshua Sasso, and Sean Page. Let's look at the list, shall we? Cody's running Ironjaws and its Bloodtooth. He's got Mega Boss and Maw Crusher, 2 War Chanters, and then he's just gone for lots of Gore Grunters. 2 6, 2 3s, and a unit of Reinforced Ardboys. So not much to say about this, but in case you've never watched a show before and you don't know what Auric Wildlands do, or Ironjaw specifically, you get a hero phase move with Mighty Destroyers, which makes the movement 9 Gore Grunters 18 inches. Then they do mortal wounds when they charge in, and the War Chant is given +1 damage. So you end up with 7 attacks at damage 2 from each Gore Grunter. The Mega Boss and Maw Crush, you can issue that command 3 times. He's got the Fasten, which means he gets another hero phase move, so he's got 36-inch threat range. And at the end of all that, because they're the sub-faction Bloodtooths, that means they get Gore Grunters as battle line, and once they finish combat, they either get to pile in or make another normal move, which is great. Very good. And is still very positive right now. We got an OCR Bone Reapers list in Petrifex Elite. Catacross, Mortars and Bone Shaper with the Artisan's Key. 6 Stalkers, 3 Stalkers, and 3 Immortis Guard. And then 2 units of 2 Morghast Harbingers. Now, I talked about this previously. I talked about this while on stream. But the Morghast Harbingers being able to charge in and turn off command abilities seems really positive. But I'm not sure you wouldn't just like stick into more recursion into the Stalkers and also the Immortis Guard. However, obviously, I didn't go 4-1 with this list, so I should shut up. But reducing the damage by 1 to a minimum of 1 and also getting +1 save on everyone from Catacross is pretty stonks, and you can going to continue to see this do well. Finally, we had a Gloomspite Gits list in Bad Snatchers, Loon Boss on Mangler Squigs, Fungoid Cave Shaman, and a Scragrot, 2x10 Boingrot Bounders, some Moon Clan Shooters, 6 Fellwater Troggoths, and a Godpalooza. Now, the Godpalooza obviously is a buff piece, can add rend to a unit, which is very good, as well as have do some spells like the Hand of Gork, which is a teleport. The Shooters are very good, especially with additional rend, or in combination with the Fellwater Troggoths, which are going to reduce any positive modifiers to your save, and also reduce your save by 1 if they are sick on you. That's correct. Boingrot Bounders, 10 of those are amazing. 15 can delete almost anything, so I think 10 Boingrot Bounders is 10 Boingrot Bounders is pretty much enough. Mortals on the charge. They do damage when they charge in. They're very powerful. Scragrot good. Fungoid Cave Shaman with the Mommet to reduce your save again, which is going to help the Shooters, the Boingrots, and the Fellwaters. And then Loon Boss on Mangler Squigs is something just a little bit interesting. Don't tend to see that as much. But big threat range, threatening your army and running around the board. So just absolutely awesome. Our next event is the Alberta Classic. 19 players battling it out in Calgary, Alberta. The event was organised by Calvin Osterdahl, and it took place here at the Ogre's Den Wargaming Club. Right there, you can see it if you're watching this as a video back. Now, the event was won by, but only 4 in a draw for Nick Fortin. Shout out to Nick. Hope you did well. He was running OCR Bone Reapers, Petrifex Elite, Catacross, Mortison, Ossifector. Don't forget the +1 to Wound Aura. And then 3 Immortis Guard, 2 units of 3 Immortis Stalkers, 10 Mortek Guard, and then 2 Mortek Crawlers and Canaan's Reapers. Oh my god, was this an old book? No, it can't have been. Catacross in there as well. Wow. Okay, absolutely fantastic stuff. So again, taking MSU Stalkers and Immortis Guard, some Mortek Guard for healing, and some Mortek Crawlers at range. Would not have expected that, but that's absolutely fantastic. You love to see it. And then our only 4 and a 4-1 is Josh Hartloper running Stormcast Eternals. You love to see that as well. And he was running, a Knight Incanter, a Knight Relictor, a Lord Imperator, 2 units of 5 Vanquishers, a unit of 5 Vindicators, and then 2 units of 3 Annihilators with Meteoric Grandhammers, and then a unit of 2 Stormstrike Guard and a Stormstrike Chariot, and 1 unit of Vanguard Raptors with Long Strike Crossbows. So mortal wounds at range, charge in, do some damage, threaten some long range attacks with the Stormdrake Guard, drop in from Deep Strike with the Annihilators with Meteoric Grandhammers and the Lord Imperator 7 inches away, do mortal wounds when you land, mortal wounds when you charge, and the Vanquishers just hold some objectives. And then you've got a teleport on the Knight Relictor as well, which is just absolutely fantastic. Shout out to everyone at that event. I hope you had a wonderful time. Shout out to everyone in Canada. You're all great. We also had the Swedish Masters this weekend, and this is where they get all of the players that have done well over the course of the year, and they put them together, and they play to be the Master of Sweden, the King Viking. And the winner was Adam Saff with Soulblight Gravelords. He was running Neferata, a Vampire Lord and Zombie Dragon, another Vampire Lord and Zombie Dragon, and a Vampire Lord and Zombie Dragon with the command trait Doom Minions and the artifact of power, the Cloak of Mist and Shadows. So 3 Vampire Lords and Zombie Dragons, all hitting the Doomed Minions on 2s. Then 3 units of 3 Death Rattle Skeletons. So 3 big dragons. Absolutely fantastic. Congratulations to him. Though there was a 2-list format at this event, which was, so then you brought another list. And the different list was still Legion of Blood, Neferata, Vampire Lord Zombie Dragon, and a Vampire Lord. Then Direwolves, Deadwalker Zombies, and a unit of 10 Blood Knights with a Corpse Cart. So, it was a 3-list format. I apologise. And the final version of this list was Legion of Blood, Nagash, a Vampire Lord, a White King, and some Deadwalker Zombies. Right? Pretty exciting. The final of this was a Soulblight off in the final, which is really fun. The Swedish Masters and Swedish scene is really fantastic. Shout out to Eric, who organised this event. And you can go watch it all live on the Twitch, not live, sorry, but you can watch it back on the Twitch channel Asylum Wargaming. So do go check that out. Our last event had 16 players in it, and it was called Regicide in the Realms. It was organised by me, Rob, at the TSN Arena in Nottingham in the UK. As of next month, we will be expanding our venue to have 4 more tables, and we'll be able to run 24 people events. So if you were interested in coming to one of our events, please do check out our Eventbrite. So look out for the Honest Wargamer. We have a bunch of events up already. Quite a lot of them are sold out, but we will be adding tickets to those events because we will have expanded capacity now if anyone is interested in coming. Anyway, we had 16 players playing. We had a wonderful weekend. We had a bunch of people who it was their very first event ever. I'm going to just shout out Andy Bunning, who won Best Sports at his first ever event, which is awesome. But the event was won by Declan, and he's my clubmate as well, super lovely guy. He was on BlazerCon, and he was on Skullfiend Tribe. Declan is someone with an opinion. He thinks Skullfiend Tribe is actually the way. If you get a charge over 8, you get always strikes first. And he takes a bunch of mortal units, and he gets always strikes first a lot of the time. He's got a Realm Gore Ritualist, or he's got 2 of those in fact, a Slaughter Priest and a Blood Secretor, and then a Blood Stoker. And then he had 10 Skull Reapers, 10 Blood Reavers, 10 Blood Reavers, 10 Blood Reavers, so 3 lots of 10 Blood Reapers, and then 2 units of 6 Mighty Skull Reapers. Mighty Skull Crushers. So that's a lot of wounds. So that's 30 wounds on a 2-up armor save, 60 wounds on a 2-up armor save. So they can kind of serve as hammer and anvil in the army at 400 points each, and can be incredibly fast and also dish out murder rolls. And then he's also got himself a unit of Skull Reapers, which are a little bit more fragile, but also can be quite survivable, which do a lot of mortal wounds on the charge as well. So he has a lot of dice if you don't have an overly great armor save in the Skull Crushers, but he can also add rend to that. And then a lot of mortal wounds from the Skull Reapers, because that's what they do. He can stack attacks, but most importantly, he can do a lot of moving using the Blood Tithe ability to move those units, and he's got a lot of movement in the army as well, thanks to prayers. So a lot of damage, a lot of good wounds, and a lot of good armor saves in the army as well. So special shout out to Declan. Hope he's done really well. I know he's done really well, and I'm super happy for him because he's just a super sweet guy. So well done. In second and third place, I guess, but like 3 wins, a loss and a draw. But I'll read it out anyway. You've got John Dale and you've got Kieran Alanda. And what were they running? It's a great question. Kieran was running. John was running Stormcast Eternals. Yeah, Karazai, Celestin Prime, 4 Night Vexillers, 2 units of Vanguard Hunters, and then 5 Vindicators and some Praetors. So the Praetors bodyguard incredibly well for Karazai, who's very, very tough to get rid of. The Night Velexers, as we've talked about previously, do mortal wound AoE damage from the standard. So 1, 2, 3, 4, bang, 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 bang. AoE mortal wounds, once per battle, D3 mortal wounds. But it's really Karazai being bodyguarded by the Praetors means he can push him in the middle of the board. So he's got the ability to threaten the enemy castles at range thanks to the Velexers, and then he can dominate the board space. The only problem he probably has is board control, because he doesn't have as much like board control as you would want. And then finally, the Soulblight Gravelords list, which Kieran did name after a lot of the monarchy. Our event this weekend was called Regicide in the Realms. We tracked how many generals or war masters you killed and how many of your own generals died. And you got points for all of them. You got points for absolutely all of them. And then the idea was that we had a Monarch Slayer, which Nathan Prescott won. So shout out to him. The Cursed Coronation, Soulblight Gravelords, Legion of Blood, Neferata, Vampire Lord Zombie Dragon. Guess what he had? A Vampire Lord on Zombie Dragon again. This time, not equipped with anything. And then a White King. And then Evia Volga, who, by the way, were like the Scorned Captain and the Discarded Princess. Was what are they called? I forget their name. The two people everyone's furious about from the royal family. I never remember. And then 10 Death Rattle Skeletons, 10 Death Rattle Skeletons, and then 10 Black Knights in his list as well. And the Soul Snare Shackles. So the idea is that the Vampire Lord on Zombie Dragon is ethereal, and then the other Vampire Lord on Zombie Dragon becomes ethereal thanks to the Neferata spell and also a Mystic Shield. Yeah, Meghan and Harry. So pretty funny. Okay, let's conclude this event weekend. And I don't know about anyone else, but where are the Gits? Where are the LRL? Where are the Sylvaneth? Why am I only reading out Soulblight Gravelords, Kharadron Overlords, and Ossiarch Bone Reapers? Now, there's a lot to say about this. Let's talk about the production meta for a start. When new books come out, working out what lists are good or even like what units might be good takes a lot of time. You have to think it through, and it's quite difficult to do. Okay? So you might just run what you already have. Also, right now, so then you got to build them and you got to paint them. That's the production meta. That's something we talk about a lot. Sometimes it takes longer for people to put those things on the tabletop than people who are super keen or happen to have those things already available. Also, there's also a supply meta problem that we haven't talked about a lot recently. Games Workshop are suffering a lot from supply issues. Lots of stores and communities around the world aren't getting the models and supplies that they want, which is a massive problem as well. So there's something to be said there. So you also will see some list diversity because you also have some supply issues. But that said, we are seeing a lot of the same list, especially for Soulblight Gravelords. Ossiarch Bone Reapers, we've got some variants. But we started the show with some pretty great diversity. We saw that really, really fun different Beasts of Chaos list. We saw that really fun and different Soulblight Gravelords list as well. And we saw a couple of different Soulblight Gravelords list. And so ultimately you get a lot of you've got a lot of diverse lists, but it does seem like this week we're reading out the same list a lot of the time. But that's great for Soulblight Gravelords. That's great for Ossiarch Bone Reapers. And what is the solution? Well, they're mainly combat armies, and especially Neferata, which we're seeing featured in lots of lists, suffers a lot if you're able to unbind that spell that makes it you ignore rend, which is going to be very, very good if you can do it. So auto unbinds, the ability to do just auto unbinds or unbind at a high value is going to be very positive. Right now, the Seraphon book isn't out, so we're not seeing all of the Gungans in play. What's the Soulblight Gravelords list core? Well, if you listen back to the show, Soulblight Gravelords list core is a Vampire and Zombie Dragon with Cloak of Mist and Shadows and Doom minions. That's the core, and then Neferata, and then you can you can pivot 30 skeletons, 10 Blood Knights, pivot around, do some different stuff. That's the kind of core of the list. And it seems to be doing very, very well. Catacross, I think, is probably going to feature in probably every single Ossiarch Bone Reapers list, but it's nice to see them out there. KO doing well, but KO not hitting 5-0s across the board is super strong. Ogres just making this big comeback. Hazel just going for a second 5-0. You'd love to see that as well. Khorne featuring pretty heavily as well this weekend as well. We saw Bloodlords, but our 5-0 was Skullfiend Tribe, so nice and different as well. It'll be fun to see what all the lists do to the stats. But lots of new factions doing very, very well. Absolutely huge. Love to see it. Great weekend. Hope everyone had a really fun time. A massive shout out to the Twitch chat for hanging out with me all day. If you have enjoyed either this podcast or this YouTube video, please do like and subscribe. And of course, you could support the show by joining Patreon. We've got a fun, healthy Discord where we talk about a bunch of different things. So I hope you might want to join that as well. That'd be cool. Thanks very much. But shout out to all the players. Hope you had a great weekend. Don't forget, we've got Worlds coming up. If you are tuning into this like at the appropriate time, like the 8th of May is when I'm recording. The 13th and 14th of May, I will be live streaming a bunch of chats about Worlds over the course of the weekend, so you can come and join us for that. That'll be super cool. Thanks. Hope you have a great day. Loads of love. See you soon.